Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and in this video we'll be able to talk about the brand new units coming for the Greenskins, Orcs and Goblins in Omens of Destruction. There's a bunch of units, a lot of squigs actually, and some pretty cool characters. So what we're going to do is the usual, show them off, show their stats, go into detail regarding what they're good at, what they're bad at, and also just showcase them in battle. There's a bunch of really cool units, some stuff that was actually quite surprising, like for example the Mangler Squigs, who look as chaotic as ever. I can't imagine that those have been easy to animate by Creative Assembly. And what you would have noticed for the Greenskin portion of this DLC is it is quite varied. You've got some artillery, some big monsters, even some ground troopers, which you're going to really want to use. They act as probably one of the best evolvable objects in the game. So, without further ado, let's begin. So the Greenskins have a new generic lord option known as the Savage Orc Shaman. This is a spellcaster, but still pretty decent at melee. Not only that, but you can have them mounted on a warboar or also a wyvern. They have access to a decent amount of buffs, like for example, a area effect known as Mumbo Jumbo Chant, which stops them from moving but increases stats tremendously on your troopers. It's there to pretty much just lead your Savage Orc armies and also give you the Big War as a generic lord choice, which is weird that we haven't had that just yet. These lads are also able to increase the physical resistance of your troopers, so if you're going to be running with a full Savage Orc army, and believe me, you're going to likely run a full Savage Orc army with Wurzag, yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun here. It is now entirely possible to run full Savage Orcs. We're missing a few troops, but now we've got a Savage Orc Lord, and it just really showcases. When it comes to combat, it's a spellcaster, but it's not as squishy as most spellcasters. Keep in mind that this is still an orc, it's very durable, and it's still able to do a decent amount of damage. So you've got access to the Big War, you're able to hit hard from far away, because obviously Foot, or Brainbuster, or even the Gaze, but as you start getting into melee combat, they can actually do fairly decent. We're fighting here against an Orc War Boss. It's not going to be the most amazing damage, but you are very durable thanks to the fact that you've got pretty high physical resistance, and yeah, the damage is pretty good too. Again, Orc spellcasters, fairly decent. This is kind of like when you look towards a Chaos spellcaster, they are able to hold the line without too much of a problem. I am so happy. If you guys know me well enough at this point, I love Savage Orcs. I painted 200 Savage Orcs in 7 days. So the fact that we've got more Savage Orcs now is just awesome for me. It holds the line quite well. It does sometimes outperform the War Boss, as you can see. I am really pleased. Your new generic hero choice is the Night Goblin Big Boss, and this one's going to act a little bit different. He's got a little bit of a hook hand, as you can see. He's a bit adorable, and you can get him on a giant cave squig, but he's there to be your squig boy, right? He buffs up squigs, he also can summon squigs. He's not the best at melee, but I mean, it's a Night Goblin. It's not going to be. It's definitely a support hero, and it's nice to see a different interpretation. Essentially, it's like the Squig Herder from the tabletop, if you remember fielding the Squig Herders that were attached to Squigs, but as its own hero. It's going to be different to the War Boss. The War Boss is there to be like a melee character. It's able to do a decent amount of damage. The Big Boss is there to allow you to just bring loads of Squigs. They're still going to be useful. Again, now you've got access to so many Night Goblin characters that you can play around really heavily and have quite a decent amount of fun with themed armies in case you like playing a Skarsnik. Don't let the stats discourage you though. It's still capable about doing its own thing. And even as a basic Goblin, it's still able to kind of hold in its own right. The fact that it can summon in squigs makes it a lot better. Themed armies are so important with the Greenskins. I think a lot of people are going to like it just because you can just have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, in combat, yeah, basic. You take it in. It's not going to do a lot, but you can summon in some squigs, you can get some buffs out. The idea is surrounding your enemy, having a lot of squigs around it. You've got Colossal Squigs and Mangler Squigs now, alongside the Squig Hoppers and the generic Squigs. You can do a really fun Night Goblin themed army. Definitely not the most exciting hero for the Greenskins, but it does serve its purpose. Goblin Bolt Throwers are coming in, which a lot of people were kind of wanting. It's a very generic unit, but it was one of those staple ones from the Greenskin roster that was clearly missing since Warhammer 1. So it's a Bolt Thrower, nothing too special about that. You've seen Bolt Throwers before, especially if you've been playing Dwarfs and stuff, but yeah, long range. It's anti-large, but Really don't think so. I mean, you'll be able to see that in just a second. It's fairly decent, however, and its missile strength is surprisingly quite good when you compare it to, like, the dwarf bolt thrower. Obviously, your crew is going to be a lot weaker, but then again, it's goblins, that's expected. I kind of like them, especially since they've got expendable. I think it makes them a lot better. It's definitely a cheap siege attacker, so if you're wanting to just start sieging early on with new armies rather than your legendary lord, you might as well take it in, but its accuracy is pretty crap. Versus large numbers of entities, it's pretty good. So firing into some dwarf warriors, which are naturally quite resistant to range stuff anyway, it does a decent amount of damage. One thing I will say, and it's something that you guys need to know, it's very, very slow for the reload. I'm not sure if the others are just as slow, but it's very noticeable here. Obviously, this map is a bit smaller, so the enemy is going to get closer to me, but I did notice it quite a bit during campaign. It was just very, very slow shooting. And for the fact that it's supposedly anti-large, I don't know, man. I had it against a giant, and it did barely any damage. It's got poor accuracy, but you'd expect it to hit something that large of a target. I just see it better to attack actual units like infantry rather than attacking big targets. It's something that you guys need to be aware of. Maybe this is intended, maybe it's something that isn't and it might get changed in the future, but I don't see this as one of those things that you're going to want firing at big monsters. So Black Orcs with hand weapon and shield are a new unit. They're just called Black Orcs by themselves. They are one of my favorite units, I think. So, they are incredibly tanky. Their ability, Movable Bulwark, reduces their melee attack but increases their melee defense quite drastically, and that is a formation. So yeah, if you want them holding down a choke point, these boys will do it, and they'll do it incredibly well. I'm really, really surprised that that was implemented that way, because without it, they're still really, really strong, so I'm really, really happy about that. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to really like that. If you're playing Grimgore a lot, you're definitely going to want to have a mix of both, and it's very, very viable. Both stats are very cool, obviously. The melee attack on them is still very, very high. The defense is incredibly high, and it can get stronger. They'll be doing less damage, obviously, if you decide to turn on the new formation, but I mean, I don't think anyone's going to care. I really don't, because the idea is they're going to hold down the line to such a tremendous degree that nobody's going to care. Yeah, this is the proper tanking spank unit. I am really, really happy about this. It kind of gives you that vibe of how Black Orcs with shields were so good on the tabletop back in the day. Just being able to hold down. Naturally, the big great weapons are going to do a lot more damage to them because that's what they do. Great weapons are armor piercing, so they're going to kind of cut through them. But even then, it's not going to melt as quickly as they would normally do. And then when you've got them fighting against big guns, it's going to really showcase what they can do. They do a lot of damage. You turn on the formation. It's less damage, but it's still decent enough. And they barely take scratches. It is so good. I mean, big guns are still fairly good at doing damage themselves, so I really am super, super happy here. Now, if Creative Assembly could just give us the additional hand weapon variant too, we'll be golden. We'll be done with pretty much all the different types of Black Orc units. And I know that that's something that everyone wants, because everyone wants the chosen version of the Greenskins, right? Now, I know a lot of people are going to be annoyed because, yes, this is a unit variant, but it does look like it's got new assets and new animations, which is nice. At the end of the day, if they're going to justify it by actually making it something unique, it's always better than nothing, right? Mangler Squigs remind me of myself after 5 Red Bulls, which I've had to ingest quite a lot given this very short embargo period. Red Bull, please sponsor me. But yeah, they are very, very cool. There's nothing that we can really compare them to, barring, yeah, the Fanatics, but you can't really control Fanatics. These guys are a world of destruction. You just set them off there, they're really, really good. They can rampage, keep that in mind. But immune to psychology, they can pretty much just smash in there. They'll kind of explode if they die. But, I mean, look at them, man. Absolute amazing work. If you want a blender unit, and this is exactly what it is, it's a blender. You throw it into the enemy hordes and just let it do its thing. And the fact that you get them in groups of 3, well, technically 6, but 1 entity is 2, they are really, really, really destructive. I think that this is going to be one of those centerpieces that a lot of people have been waiting for. The Colossal Squig is a centerpiece in its own right, but yeah, just let them out there, literally just smash into the enemy lines. They've got really high speed too, so they're going to get into enemies without too much of a problem, and boom, just ripping apart the Orc Biggins. It's one of those units that you're going to really want to bring around a few times. It's just, I wasn't expecting this. I honestly was not expecting this because I just didn't know how they would interpret the Mangler Squigs. I was getting a bit worried that maybe it would just turn into some sort of summon, but nah, man, they perform so well against Chaos Warriors, anything that's very heavily armored. The best way to explain this unit is you've got Fanatics, but now they're much larger, much deadlier, and you can control exactly where they're going to go. Until they rampage, of course. But even then, just let them rampage and do their own thing. The Colossal Squig is going to be your brand new centerpiece, and there's nothing that we can really compare it to, which is odd, but I mean, yeah, you know, it's a big monster. The fact of the matter is, it's incredibly fast, which is really surprising. It's got high weapon strength, it's a damage dealer, it's armor piercing, anti-infantry, it's got very high charge bonus. It's a big boy. It can rampage too, so keep that in mind. There's a lot of stuff that can rampage, but if it dies, it explodes, which is awesome. They are fairly durable, even though they don't really have that much HP. Keep that in mind that it can get taken out, but it's fairly resistant, and its damage capabilities really allow it to shine. You can see it there just charging in. Its attacks are essentially just a stomp and a roll, sometimes a bite. It's, yeah, I mean, it's a giant squig. It's a giant squig. I don't know what else to say with regards to it. It's one of these things where you're going to be using them because funny, and I'm pretty sure you can easily doomstack them. I haven't tried that myself just yet. It's mostly because I've been dealing with so many different types of videos that I have to look through. But yeah, doomstacks seem viable. Bring them in with the Goblin, Night Goblin Big Boss and actually have a little bit of defense coming in for that. A few little buffs. It can kill a lot of entities very quickly. I'm fighting here against some big uns, and yeah, they start dying fast. That's what you expect from a big beastie like this. Okay, I'm going to be very honest with you. We've had a few reskins, and the Aracknarok Flinger itself feels like the worst one. I don't know, it just feels a bit odd. So, it's an Aracknarok spider with a web flinger. And this means that you've got an Aracknarok, which is pretty good in its own right, and is also a artillery piece, so it can do some damage and slow down your enemies. The issue is, I feel like this unit should have been one of those free updates. You do get a little bit of a new animation, but it's not really that much, considering that it would just be using the same basic animations from the, well, anything that actually is a catapult, to be honest. It's alright, I guess, and it's pretty good at doing damage. Its stats are very much the same as a normal Aracknarok. The only difference is you've got an artillery piece, which is fairly far-flinging. You get it? Far-flinging? But, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like this is a unit that should have been part of a DLC. Once again, it just feels very out of place. At least the Black Orcs with Sword and Shield were able to be very defensive and so on. When it comes to Greenskins, you're not really going to be using many artillery pieces, and when you are, it's going to be like a Doom Diver or something like that. It's nice to have Rock Lobbers essentially there with a Aracknarok, but Rock Lobbers, at least you get them in bigger groups, so you get more artillery fire going out. This is just the one. It really just serves as a more expensive Aracknarok spider. People might like it, but this unit is a no from me. Snagla Grobspit is your brand new legendary hero, proving that Creative Assembly still remember that forest goblins exist. He comes mounted. You can't unmount him, which is great, because at the end of the day, this is what you want. He looks super, super cool. Keep in mind that this guy never had a model before, so I'm really happy that we finally have some sort of representation. He's your buffer. He can summon in spiders. In campaign, you're going to be using him around spiders too, so you can have a big spooky type of army. Arachnophobes all over the place are going to be really, really terrified. But yeah, no, I mean, he's decent at what he does. The fact is, his damage output is fairly good. He is fast, he moves around the battlefield, or scuttles around the battlefield quite quickly. If you're going to be using specialized armies with loads of spiders, he's definitely a character that you're going to be wanting to bring around. He's very unique for a legendary hero in a sense for the Greenskins, because a lot of people were thinking another Orc would come in, maybe even Grimgor's Bannerman, but yeah, this guy does perform really, really well. He's not going to be the big damage boy, but the fact that you can summon in spiders and so on, I mean, you basically end the battle quite quickly by getting those flanking coming in. I like him. I think he's very, very cool. His animations aren't really too special because it's mostly just the giant spider and stuff, but he does hit with his spear. I would have preferred if this character was a legendary lord and we had a forest goblin actual faction, but hey, if we're never going to get one, it's just nice that he's at least in the game. Gorbad Ironclaw is your brand new legendary lord, a melee powerhouse who you can have on foot or mounted. But let's be honest, as soon as you get the mount option, you're going to want him like that because look at him. So he's not identical to his old miniature back in the day. There's a few subtle changes, but he's close enough. And the fact is, this is your big boy. On campaign, he's got really fun mechanics. I can't wait to talk about those in a few days' time. But in battle, yeah, man, this guy is big and proper. And I mean really big and proper. He's there to do melee damage in the most proper orky way as possible. So you've got Grimgor, who's great on foot, and you've got Gorbad, who's great on his piggy. We're going to have him against a war boss mounted on a boar also. So pig versus pig, who has the bigger hog? I'm sorry, I'll stop that. But yeah, no, dude, he is so freaking good. His damage output was so surprising to me. He literally just melts him out. And I'm using the abilities, yeah, but the AI is using theirs, and it's so ridiculous. He literally kills him off in like 23 seconds or something, breaks him straight off, and then just kills him by the end of the 40-second clip. I am really, really impressed with how Gorbad goes on the battlefield. It's about time we started getting some proper Kirli war going on here, especially as the war bosses themselves haven't been too great. They're a bit better. I feel like the Greenskins are in a very good spot. But yeah, this is the brand new roster that you're going to have access to with Omens of Destruction. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, as there's a lot of videos to come out today and tomorrow and all the way up until the 11th. And if you want some more, we're going to be live on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges doing some battle testing today. And then on the 6th, there's actual campaign stuff. There's so much coming out. But yeah, have a great day, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon. As you can imagine, I'm incredibly stressed trying to get everything up and running, but we're almost there. See ya.